trying. Let's see. Hold on, everyone.
So
oh,
I think
yay, it worked. Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you. Yeah, it was weird. I kept trying, but it wasn't working. So, but glad to be here. And
thanks for having
thanks for having me. So why don't you tell us what you're going to be talking about today?
Well, so I want to talk to you, and we were going to over on my page, but Mark Zuckerberg is giving us issues apparently, but it's okay. We'll figure it out. So I've been a huge fan of your work for many, many, many years. Presence is a massive book and has changed so many people's lives. And a lot of what you write in there, you know, I feel like I, as well as a lot of other entrepreneurs and just general people have inhabited. And so I wrote a book during quarantine when I was talking to thousands of people who were losing their jobs and who were being furloughed and had a total lack of self-confidence. And they were attaching that they're basically attaching their lack of success to their personal worth. And felt very, very down for the entire year. And I thought that didn't make any sense. And I just sort of wrote this book and poured it out. And there's a bunch of codes in the book. And one of them I was thinking about you actually when I wrote it. So I thought I would read it to you. That's kind of what I've been doing. I'll just read the Big Money Energy code. You're actually right at the beginning. You're number 3. And then we can talk about it. And you can tell me what you think, kind of how you might phrase it or any advice you have for anybody who might be listening. Cool?
I love it.
Also, nice fireplace, by the way. I'm a real estate guy.
Thank you. We're in Utah, so you got to have a fireplace.
I want to be in Utah.
It's been nice, I have to say. Doing a little skiing every day.
I love it. I haven't skied in so many years. Sorry, back to topic. So big code number 3, Amy, is fill your mind with positive thoughts for at least 10 seconds before meeting anyone. If your head is in a good place, you'll exude positivity and confidence, and it'll set the tone for the meeting. And so I remember, and so I do this actually. I have like a mantra that I'll say to myself before I go into anything. I know you talk about this stuff all the time, but I remember seeing this viral video, and I don't remember the exact details, but it was a teacher who was like walking down a hallway, and he looked like it was the last place he ever wanted to be, was teaching these kids. And before he went into the classroom door, he like put his head up, he smiled really, 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 really big, and like started to laugh to himself, and then he went right inside. And it was like this immediate switch where he made the personal decision that, you know what, I'm not bringing this baggage into 50 kids. I'm going to make a choice right now. I'm going to bring them. But he did something. Can you talk to me about that? This is like right up your alley.
Well, it's funny because did you ever know the phrase smile then dial? It was an old sales smile then dial, and it was for telemarketers. They said before you pick up the phone, smile, because you will feel much happier when you're making that call, and that's a hard job to do. So that's the idea. We actually call that facial feedback, and the idea is that not only does your mind tell your body what to do, but your body is telling your mind what to do. So smiling and happiness are universally linked as emotions. It's a hardwired link in the brain. And so, yes, we smile when we feel happy, but smiling can also make us feel happy. Do you see? So the arrow goes in both directions. And so that's true for other universal emotions too, like sadness and surprise. But what I think is so interesting and that we sort of ignore is what we're doing kind of from the neck down and how that helps us to reset our brains. So if we're gonna think positive thoughts before we go into a situation, those thoughts are going to stick much better if we are carrying ourselves with a sense of dignity and pride and power. And what that's about is not the body language that you're communicating to other people. I mean, that matters, but I mean, especially during quarantine, we're barely seeing other people. What you need to do, so what I would sort of say is before you even do that, make sure that you are sitting up straight, that your shoulders are back, that you aren't wrapping yourself up, not making yourself small, because physical expansiveness is directly related to the feeling of power and pride. Across the animal kingdom, in every culture in which it's been studied, I mean, think about what people do when they win a race. They immediately go like this. they lift their chin, they make themselves as expansive as possible.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. But the funny thing is we think that that's only what happens when we already feel powerful, but it can cause us to feel powerful and confident. And that makes those thoughts much more believable to us, right? So if you're feeling bad about yourself and telling yourself something good, you might feel like you're lying to yourself. But if you're sitting or, walking expansively as you think about these good thoughts, they are much more effective, right? So tying those together.
Yeah, can you talk to me about that? Because I feel like a lot of people will actually lie to themselves. So they'll say, oh, this is going to be awesome. Everything's great. Let's go into the meeting. But it's not authentic. It's not organic. And they might be bringing in some like awkward energy instead of that positive energy. So how do you make sure you don't do that? Is it just
exactly? I call this inside out change, right? So when people just try to think about, feeling better. I mean, okay, do you remember the old Stuart Smalley SNL sketch? I'm good enough. I'm good enough. How does it go? And gosh darn it, people like me. It was Al Franken.
Yes, yes.
It was like a self-affirmations with Stuart Smalley. It never worked. And by the end, he'd be saying things like, I am in a shame spiral and everyone hates me, because he didn't believe what he was saying. But when we open ourselves up, we are able to receive those good feelings even about ourselves. So let me give you one example. These are great studies that were done with people who are clinically depressed. Now, when people are depressed, they contract, right? I was trying to show you, I'm going to stand on the fireplace for a minute. So they actually kind of contract like this. They sit with their heads down and slouched. So clinical psychologists started going, well, talk therapy works for some people, but for some people it doesn't. So what if we changed their body language? And so they took a sample of people with clinical depression and had half of them just sit up straight and expansively, right? So just good posture for 2 minutes. That alleviated depression symptoms. And even with people who weren't depressed, it caused them to feel happier and remember more positive things about themselves. Right? So simply sitting up straight makes us feel better, not just about the world, but about ourselves. Walking, taking longer strides, more up and down vertical bounds. Breathing deeply and expansively makes us feel more powerful. And I can't tell, I think I'm losing you a bit.
Yeah, I think you're the cell service. You might have our Wi-Fi. Oh, there you go. You're back.
Okay. All right. So even breathing expansively, and I call this is called 4-7-8 breathing. So what you do is you inhale for 4 counts, you hold it for 7, and you exhale for 8. So let's all do it together. So again, inhale for 4. I'll count. Inhale for 4, hold for 7, exhale for 8. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's called 4-7-8 breathing, and it triggers what we call the relaxation response. So your nervous system literally calms down, and you go into what we call the rest and digest state, not the fight or flight state. If you do that 3 times, it is like it's almost intoxicating. Like I do it before I go to bed at night and I feel like I'm drunk or something. Like it really relaxes me. So some people say I can't even do that before I drive because I get too drowsy, but it calms your system down. But it's another way in which we expand. So I guess I want to tell people, remember that how you carry your body affects how you carry out your life and your interactions. It affects your outcomes. Right? And yes, it is kind of a hardware reset, as I saw somebody just say. So prepare your mind to accept those positive thoughts by carrying yourself with happiness and pride and power and dignity.
I love that. And there's people, I'm in my office right now. You're in the mountains, which sounds beautiful. But I've got people around me who are taking notes, and literally everyone around me just sat up totally straight. I saw it like top of everyone's heads, and everyone started breathing. A question for you. You know, people are going through some really, really big challenges today. What advice do you have for them? You know, if someone's out of work right now, like it's one thing to say, hey, make sure you're breathing, stand up straight. But when the weight of the weight of the world is on your shoulders and supporting your family, and maybe you've got a lot of debt, like it's not enough just to stand up straight. You know, what do you say to them?
So what happens during a humanitarian crisis, which we're in still, is that in the very beginning, so if you think back to like March and April of last year, people were actually pretty productive. Because they were operating on adrenaline. We call that the emergency phase of a crisis. And it's just like in a war, combat is the emergency phase. The goals are shared, people are operating on adrenaline, they're getting stuff done. But then if it goes on too long, and after the acute threat becomes less clear, we go into what's called regression. And that is human. It is totally normal. If you're not doing that, great, but almost everyone does. And so first of all, be easy on yourself. When we go into regression, what happens is that everything becomes ambiguous. We have a loss of control. And when we lose our sense of control and certainty about the future, we start to withdraw, we shut down, we become less creative, we don't want to work together on teams, we actually become more agitated with each other, like we fight about little things. And what we need to do to get into the last stage of crisis, which is rebuilding and recovery, is to, first of all, be easy on yourself. It's okay that you feel like this. It's inevitable. Yeah. But also reorganize your goals a bit. Part of it is like grieving. We understand that we're not going back to a world that we were in before. And when we start to accept that, we can start to set new goals for ourselves. And that gives us a sense of purpose. We sometimes reorganize our teams. We can even working on like projects at home that give us a sense of purpose. All of those things help us move from regression to recovery.
I actually feel so much better, even just talking to you, and the day's been pretty good so far. This has been awesome. I don't want to take up too much of your time. You have just dropped kind of nugget after nugget after nugget on all of us here, which has been amazing. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Can I say one more thing? One thing about because I don't have yet a copy of the book. I'm looking forward to getting one. So I read as much as I could online. Awesome. There's the book. I love that you have that. But one of the things I wanted to just mention, because there's such overlap between how you see this and I see this, is what you call BME, big money energy. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what you say is that it's not about bravado. It's about true confidence. And we know it when we meet those people. And it's funny, my son Jenna, who was standing here wanting to say hello, who loves you and is a huge fan, would describe you this way. You're confident, but not arrogant. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You know who you are. And I just want to say to people, there's a big difference between confidence and arrogance. And people often conflate those two things. But what you put across is a kind of confidence that people don't find threatening. They find it appealing and reassuring. So your concept of BME matches mine, which I call confidence without arrogance. And so I just wanted to highlight that bravado is not necessary for confidence.
No, actually there's, and I'm going to swear for 1 second, I apologize. Section in the book that people fall into the pit of bullshit money energy. People want things to be real and people want things to be authentic. And I think you froze, but maybe you'll be back in a second.
You're frozen, but I hear you. Okay, there. Okay.
There's bullshit money energy and then there's big money energy. And, really the book is, yes, it's helping people make money by figuring out what their confidence is, what that core conviction is, and then going out there and actually getting it and making commitments, which is in part why I've taped the book to my hand for 30 days to show people that I'm committed to pushing this and getting it out there, and
yes.
hope can kind of join the ride with me as we try to be like you and get on the New York Times list. But it's also, you know, about being magnetic, right? How do you create energy that we all have to get control back from others, and kind of develop this magnetism that we're, you know, that's what people want, right? That's how people like
Right.
you. People want to work with me because there's a magnetism, right? People want to talk to you and listen to you because, right, you're magnetic. And but yeah, no, I love your book, and I'm super excited that you agreed to do this. And thanks for hosting this over on your page. I'm gonna have to.
Of course. Thank you. That was great. I could talk forever with you. I could just talk forever. But sorry, I just want to say one last thing, which is your magnetism is also about your ability to connect with and understand people. So the people, your clients, whether they're buyers or sellers, know that you get them, right? That is so critical. So you take the time to do that. You're not just talking at them. You're building trust, and trust is the conduit of influence, right? So that's, you know, it's, you buy what you're selling, and so they can buy what you're selling. You understand them, they can hear you. So anyway, well done.
No, listen, I appreciate that. You're awesome. This has been great. And for everybody else that's here listening, they can go to your page and they can get your book presence and follow you, and you is so incredible. And for everyone that's typing here asking why the book is attached to my hand, if you follow me, you know that my first book did well, but it did not make the New York Times bestseller list, and that's something that I want to check off on my box. And so I told everyone I was going to tape the book to my hand for 30 days. In an effort to have people pre-order it and buy it. And so
pre-orders, everyone, pre-orders.
5 minutes after, but I'm sticking to it. So it's been 11 days, and it's been great. And our launch event, you should come to it. It'll be totally virtual. It's gonna be a party with Damon John from Shark Tank on February 2nd.
I saw that. I'd love to. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a link in my bio for tickets. We'll be donating a lot to Feeding America, which is a charity that's near and dear to us. And yeah, you know, the goal is to help as much as we possibly can. So thank you, Amy. You've been great.
You're welcome. And everyone, pre-order Ryan's book. It's really important to pre-order it. Pre-order it. All right. Thank you, Ryan.
And tell your son I say hello, okay?
I will. He's upstairs. Ryan says hi.
There you go. Great. All right, bye.
Bye.